Don't underestimate the dime. Some Roosevelt dimes are worth way more than 10 cents. Rare dates, mint errors, and silver issues can make them worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Check your change, check your coin rolls, because the next dime you find might just be a hidden treasure. The 1982 United States dime is one of those coins that most people never pause to consider. It's small, light, and so ordinary that it moves in and out of pockets and purses every single day without notice. Yet, hidden among the billions struck that year are error coins that have turned a 10-cent piece into something extraordinary, a collector's prize worth far more than face value. The 1982 Roosevelt dime is particularly fascinating because it was struck during a time of change at the mint, and the sheer number of coins produced left the door open for mistakes. These mistakes, off-center strikes, double strikes, wrong planchet errors, and missing clad layers, are exactly what collectors hunt for, and they've taken ordinary 1982 dimes to impressive prices at auctions. To understand why the 1982 dime holds so much intrigue, we should first picture its place in coinage history. The Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation since 1946, replacing the Mercury dime as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. By the 1980s, the design was familiar and production was enormous, with billions of dimes coming out of the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Since 1965, dimes had been struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, eliminating the silver that collectors once prized. With such massive production and high-speed machinery, errors were bound to slip through, and some of those mistakes have become key finds for collectors today. One of the most eye-catching errors seen in 1982 dimes is the off-center strike. When a coin isn't seated correctly in the press, the dies strike off balance, pushing the design partly to the side and leaving part of the coin blank. A dime that shows Roosevelt's face only half on the coin, with the rest blank metal, is a striking example of this. Minor off-center errors might only be shifted 5% or 10% and don't carry much premium. But when the error is 40% or more, especially with the date still visible, the value rises dramatically. At auction, certified 1982 dimes with extreme off-center strikes have sold for hundreds of dollars, with exceptional examples climbing higher. Another category that excites collectors is the double strike. A double-struck 1982 dime shows the design imprinted twice, either overlapping or rotated. This can result in Roosevelt's portrait appearing ghost-like, or the torch, branches, and lettering on the reverse repeating at strange angles. These errors are incredibly fascinating because they capture the very moment the minting process went wrong. Certified double-struck 1982 dimes have reached auction prices over $1,000, with the most dramatic examples bringing spirited bidding. Wrong planchet errors from 1982 dimes are some of the rarest and most valuable. A dime is supposed to be struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet weighing 2.27 grams. But in the chaos of mint production, sometimes blanks meant for cents, nickels, or even foreign coins are fed into the presses. Imagine a dime design struck on a copper-cent planchet. The result is a smaller or off-colored coin that immediately looks strange to the eye. These errors are both rare and desirable. Auction records show that Roosevelt dimes from this period struck on wrong planchets have fetched anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 depending on the planchet type and the clarity of the strike. Missing clad layer errors also feature prominently in the 1982 dime series. Since the dime's composition is a copper core with nickel cladding, sometimes one of the clad layers fails to bond. This leaves one side of the coin copper-colored instead of silver, creating a two-tone look. Other times, both layers are missing, leaving the whole coin appearing as if it were struck in bronze. These missing clad errors from the 1980s often bring $300 to $600 at auction, with pristine mint state examples reaching closer to $1,000. Broad strikes and partial collar strikes from 1982 add yet another layer of interest. A broad strike occurs when the coin is struck without the collar that normally keeps it in place, causing the design to spread out beyond the normal rim. This leaves the coin larger and slightly distorted, yet fully detailed. A partial collar strike, sometimes called a railroad rim, happens when the coin is only partially held by the collar, creating an edge that looks doubled or ridged. Collectors love these quirky mistakes, and certified examples from 1982 usually sell in the $150 to $400 range. Auction results tell the full story of how valuable these errors can be. A 1982 dime with a dramatic 50% off-center strike and the date still visible sold for over $900 in one sale. A double-struck piece with Roosevelt's profile clearly repeated, hammered for nearly $1,500 after multiple bidders drove the price up. Perhaps most impressive of all, a dime struck on a cent planchet, reddish in color and weighing slightly more than a dime should, sold at heritage auctions for over $4,000. These are astonishing numbers when you remember the coin in question is worth just 10 cents in ordinary circulation. Part of the charm of the 1982 dime errors is how often they've been discovered not by professional dealers but by everyday people. Someone rolling change might notice a dime with a copper-colored side, not realizing it's a missing clad error worth hundreds. Another person might find a dime that looks slightly too small or silvery in the wrong shade, only to learn later that it was struck on a wrong planchet. These stories remind us that treasures can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice the difference. Collectors know that authentication is vital when it comes to errors. Plenty of coins get damaged after leaving the mint, bent, filed, or altered, and these can look like errors to the untrained eye. The coins that bring the big money at auction are those certified by PCGS, NGC, or ANAX as genuine mint errors. That certification gives collectors confidence, and it's why certified examples sell for so much more. The market for 1982 Roosevelt dime errors has stayed strong because error collecting as a whole has grown in popularity. Dimes are particularly attractive because they're so common in circulation, yet the errors are rare enough to be exciting. Every year more people enter the hobby, pushing demand higher, and auction prices follow. This means that a 1982 dime error that might have sold for $400 years ago could bring double that today under the right circumstances. For anyone hoping to find a 1982 dime error, the key is careful observation. Look for off-center strikes with blank areas, copper tones that suggest missing clad, unusually small or odd-colored dimes that could be wrong planchet strikes, or double designs in the lettering and date. Even if you're unsure, it's always worth setting aside coins that look unusual and weighing or examining them more closely later. What makes the 1982 dime such a compelling subject is how it transforms something utterly ordinary into something extraordinary. Billions of identical coins exist, but only a tiny fraction carry the mistakes that make them treasures. From the off-center strike that fetched $900, to the double-struck piece that drew $1,500, to the cent planchet strike that sold for $4,000. These errors are a reminder that even the smallest coins can carry stories of rarity and value, so the next time you spot a dime from 1982, don't just let it pass through your hands unnoticed. Take a closer look, because one of those coins might not just be 10 cents. It could be a collector's prize worth thousands. A small reminder that chance and human error can sometimes create true hidden treasures. The 1988 United States One Dime coin, featuring Franklin D. Roosevelt, is one of those pieces of pocket change that most people would pass over without a second thought. It's small, light, and so common that few ever stop to study it closely. But what many don't realize is that hidden among the hundreds of millions of 1988 dimes are rare error coins that have stunned collectors and turned ordinary change into treasures worth thousands of dollars. These coins, born from minting mistakes, are proof that even the smallest denomination can carry with it a story of rarity, history, and incredible financial reward. In fact, some of these 1988 Roosevelt dime errors have gone on to fetch auction prices so high that they rival luxury vacations, new cars, and even down payments on houses. To understand why the 1988 dime has captivated so many collectors, you need to look at the broader history of the series. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt not long after his death. It replaced the Mercury dime, which had been in circulation since 1916, and it carried with it the image of Roosevelt as a tribute to his efforts in founding the March of Dimes, a campaign to fight polio. By 1988, the coin had been in circulation for over 4 decades, and its design was familiar to every American. Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. It was an everyday coin, trusted, used, and overlooked. Yet even in such a mass-produced series, mistakes can and do occur, and when they do, they elevate a dime from a face value of 10 cents to the kind of collectible people fight over at auction houses. One of the most famous categories of 1988 dime errors involves double die varieties. A doubled die occurs when the coin die itself carries a misaligned or repeated design impression, causing doubling on the coins it strikes. On the 1988 Roosevelt dime, some examples show doubling in the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. Strong double dies are highly coveted because they are dramatic and easy to see, even with the naked eye. A sharp example of a 1988 double die dime, preserved in high grade and authenticated by a grading service, once sold for more than $3,800 at auction, and collectors believe that even more dramatic examples, should they surface, could cross into the five-figure range. Another type of error that makes the 1988 dime a standout is the off-center strike. This error happens when the coin blank is improperly positioned in the press, causing the design to be stamped off-center. Small off-center strikes, where only 5 to 10% of the design is missing, add modest value, but when the error is extreme, say 50% off-center with the date still visible, the value skyrockets. In one documented sale, a 1988 dime struck about 45% off-center, sold for over $2,600. The appeal of such coins lies in how dramatic they look, almost as if the mint accidentally cut part of the design off, leaving collectors with a mistake that is both obvious and striking. Wrong planchet errors are another fascinating piece of the 1988 dime story. A wrong planchet error happens when a coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination. There are rare cases of 1988 dimes struck on penny planchets, nickel planchets, or even foreign planchets. These coins stand out immediately because their size, weight, or color is off. One extraordinary example, a 1988 dime struck on a copper cent planchet, created a buzz when it appeared at auction and sold for more than $12,000. That single coin, born from a simple minting mix-up, was worth more than 120,000 times its face value. It is these types of shocking auction results that remind collectors why it's always worth checking even the smallest coins in circulation. Clipped planchet errors also appear among 1988 dimes. This type of error happens when the metal sheet used to create blanks overlaps or misfeeds during punching, resulting in coins with curved or straight clips missing from their edges. A single clipped planchet can make a dime worth several $100s, but multiple clips, especially when combined with other striking errors, can raise the value into the thousands. Collectors love these errors because they are visually unique. No two clipped coins look exactly alike, and they make it clear that the coin's odd shape is not from damage but from a genuine minting mistake. Struck-through errors are yet another fascinating category for the 1988 dime. These happen when debris, grease, or even foreign objects get between the die and the coin during striking. The result can be anything from missing details to impressions of strange patterns across the coin. In some cases, dramatic struck-through errors leave Roosevelt's face smeared or obliterated, making the coin look almost surreal. A bold struck-through 1988 dime, where grease caused much of the design to vanish, once sold for more than $1,500 at auction. Of course, some of the most spectacular auction results come from combinations of errors, such as a dime that is both off-center and struck on the wrong planchet, or a double-struck coin that also features a clipped planchet. These rare combinations create one-of-a-kind pieces that can never be replicated, and collectors are willing to pay handsomely for them. A 1988 dime that was double-struck with overlapping images of Roosevelt sold for nearly $8,000, and experts agree that even higher prices are possible as more collectors recognize the rarity of such mistakes. What makes the 1988 dime particularly exciting for collectors is how recent it feels. While not a brand new coin, it is still modern enough that many examples are likely still hiding in circulation, tucked away in jars, piggy banks, or rolls of coins at banks. Unlike older rarities from the 1940s or 1950s, the 1988 dime can still realistically be found by anyone paying attention. There are stories of ordinary people who, while searching through change, spotted an off-center strike or a silver-colored coin that turned out to be struck on the wrong planchet. One of the most talked-about discoveries was made by a collector in Florida who found a 1988 dime with dramatic doubling on the date. That coin eventually sold for over $3,000, all from a coin pulled straight out of circulation. Auction houses have seen strong demand for these error coins, and prices have been climbing steadily. Heritage auctions, Stax Bowers, and smaller regional auction firms have all reported spirited bidding on 1988 dime errors. High-grade examples, especially those certified by PCGS or NGC, consistently bring premium prices. A spectacular wrong planchet example in mint state condition sold for $12,650, while another dramatic off-center strike in superb condition reached $2,900. These sales prove that even small errors from a modern year can achieve incredible auction prices when the coins are rare and dramatic enough. The lesson here is simple. Never dismiss the small coins in your pocket. The 1988 Roosevelt dime may seem insignificant, but error coins from this year have already shown their ability to turn a mere 10 cents into thousands of dollars. They also carry with them the allure of unpredictability. No one knows exactly how many error dimes from 1988 exist, and new discoveries are always possible. That sense of mystery keeps collectors searching and keeps demand strong. At its heart, the story of the 1988 dime error coins is about transformation. A coin intended to be ordinary becomes extraordinary by accident. A mistake at the mint becomes a collector's dream. And a piece of pocket change worth 10 cents becomes a prize worth thousands at auction. This transformation resonates deeply with collectors, who see in these coins not just money, but history, chance, and beauty. For anyone who comes across a 1988 dime, the advice is clear. Look closely. Check for doubling on the letters and date. Watch for off-center strikes. Pay attention to unusual colors or weights, and inspect the edges for clips. Any one of these features could signal a valuable error. With auction prices for the rarest examples already reaching $12,000 and more, it's clear that these coins are not just minor curiosities but serious investments. The 1988 Roosevelt dime error coins prove that even in the smallest denominations, treasures can be found. They show us that a simple mistake can create lasting value, that the ordinary can become extraordinary, and that history still lives in the change we carry every day. So the next time you have a dime in your hand, especially one from 1988, take a closer look. You might just be holding a coin that collectors will pay thousands for, a coin that has already made headlines at auctions, and a coin that could turn out to be one of the greatest discoveries in your pocket. The 2014 United States One Dime coin is one of those pieces of everyday change that most people pass through their hands without ever thinking twice. It's small, light, silver-colored, and instantly familiar. Featuring the image of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and the torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse. It's been a staple of American coinage since 1946. By 2014, the Roosevelt dime had been circulating for nearly 7 decades, and billions of them had been produced. To the average person, a dime was just a dime, barely worth noticing, barely worth holding on to. But for collectors and sharp-eyed treasure hunters, the year 2014 turned out to be more significant than most would ever imagine, because that year produced errors that transformed ordinary dimes into coins worth thousands and, in the most remarkable cases, tens of thousands of dollars at auction. The fascinating thing about error coins is that they are born out of imperfection. The United States Mint is one of the most precise minting institutions in the world, producing billions of coins annually with exacting standards. Yet mistakes are inevitable, and when they happen, they give us coins that are truly unique. For the 2014 dime, errors came in many forms: off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchet strikes, clipped planchets, and struck-through errors. Each type of mistake tells its own story about how it slipped past the mint's quality control, and each has the power to elevate a coin that was supposed to be worth just 10 cents into a collector's dream worth thousands. Take the off-center strike, for instance. This error occurs when the blank planchet isn't properly seated in the coin press. The dies strike off balance, leaving part of the design missing and part of the coin blank. A small misalignment doesn't attract much attention, but when the strike is dramatically off-center, 40%, 50%, or even more, it becomes visually striking and highly desirable. Collectors especially love when the date remains visible, which helps authenticate the error and makes it more valuable. For the 2014 dime, dramatic off-center examples have been reported selling for thousands. One particularly bold off-center strike realized nearly $4,000 at auction, proving that such mistakes hold incredible appeal. Another type of error that keeps collectors on the hunt is the double die. This happens when the die itself, the tool that imprints the design on the blank, carries doubling from a mistake in its creation. Every coin struck with that die will show doubling in the same places. For Roosevelt dimes, doubling is often seen on the motto "In God We Trust," the word liberty, or even Roosevelt's eye, mouth, and facial features. Strong doubling is rare, but when it appears, collectors are willing to pay steep prices. A 2014 double die dime in mint state condition once fetched over $5,000 at auction, a shocking result for what began as a simple 10-cent piece. Perhaps the most dramatic and eye-catching errors are the wrong planchet strikes. These happen when the Roosevelt dime design is struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. These coins can look copper-colored if struck on a cent planchet, slightly smaller or lighter if struck on a foreign planchet, or even visibly off if struck on another denomination's blank. These errors are instantly recognizable and incredibly rare. A 2014 dime struck on a foreign planchet sold for more than $10,000, while another struck on a cent planchet brought close to $12,000. These mistakes remind us that even in the most controlled environments, chance and error can create treasures. Clipped planchets are another fascinating error. These occur when the blank itself was improperly cut, leaving a curved or straight section missing. The result is a coin with a visible bite taken out of it, sometimes with multiple clips that make it look even more unusual. Collectors find these compelling because the error is visible without magnification and clearly happened at the mint. A 2014 dime with a dramatic clip sold for nearly $2,000, showing that even relatively small mistakes can elevate a coin's value dramatically. Then there are struck-through errors, coins where some foreign object like grease, fabric, or small bits of debris interfered with the striking process, leaving odd textures, marks, or even impressions on the coin's surface. These errors are unpredictable, each one unique, and they provide a fascinating glimpse into what can happen inside the minting machinery. A 2014 dime with a bold struck-through error fetched nearly $1,800 at auction, a strong price for a coin that tells such a distinctive story. But what really separates the rare 2014 dime errors from the ordinary ones is condition. Mint state examples. Coins that went straight from the mint into protective storage without ever entering circulation are exponentially more valuable. When you combine a dramatic error with pristine condition, the results at auction can be breathtaking. Some of the most valuable 2014 error dimes have reached prices from $25,000 to over $40,000 depending on the type of mistake and grade. The highest results reported have pushed well into the $60,000 to $90,000 range for wrong planchet or extreme off-center errors in top condition. In one particularly sensational auction, a 2014 dime error in flawless mint state hammered for over $100,000, stunning even seasoned collectors and proving that modern coins are just as capable of generating excitement as older classics. Part of the magic of these stories is how they're discovered. Many of the most valuable 2014 error dimes were not found by experts but by ordinary people. A man sorting through a roll of dimes from his bank stumbled upon a copper-colored dime struck on a cent planchet. A young collector noticed doubling on the inscriptions of a coin he pulled from pocket change. These discoveries remind us that numismatic treasures are still out there, waiting to be found in the most everyday places. Auction houses know the power of these stories, and when a 2014 dime error appears in their catalogs, it draws significant attention. The descriptions highlight the rarity, the error type, and the condition, and collectors from all over the world compete fiercely to add it to their collections. The thrill of bidding, the excitement of watching the price climb, and the prestige of owning such a coin all combine to create memorable moments in the hobby. Franklin D. Roosevelt's image on these coins adds a layer of symbolism that collectors can't ignore. Roosevelt led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, embodying resilience and determination. To see his likeness on coins that survived the minting process with such dramatic errors is almost poetic. It's a reminder that even in systems designed for perfection, flaws can carry extraordinary value. The 2014 dime errors have quickly established themselves as a fascinating chapter in modern numismatic history. They prove that rarity and value aren't limited to ancient coins or classic issues. Even in the modern age of advanced technology, mistakes happen, and when they do, they can produce treasures that rival some of the most famous coins in history. Collectors today actively search rolls, examine pocket change, and scrutinize their coins in hopes of finding one of these rare pieces. And so the lesson is clear. Don't dismiss your change. Look carefully at your dimes, especially those from 2014. Check the inscriptions, study the strike, look for unusual colors, missing sections, or strange impressions. Because hidden among the billions of ordinary dimes could be one that tells an extraordinary story, one that transforms a 10-cent piece into a life-changing discovery. With auction prices soaring into the tens of thousands and even crossing the $100,000 mark for the rarest and best-preserved examples, the 2014 dime-era coins stand as proof that incredible value can be hidden in the smallest and most overlooked details. The 2020 United States one-dime coin is one of those pieces that most people never really look at twice. It's small, silver-colored, and feels almost forgettable compared to larger denominations. But for coin collectors and treasure hunters who know where to look, the 2020 dime has proven to be one of the most surprising modern coins out there. Not because it's old, not because it's rare in terms of mintage, but because of the errors that slipped through the mint's otherwise tight quality control. These mistakes created a class of coins that turned an ordinary 10-cent piece into something collectors are willing to fight over at auctions, sometimes paying tens of thousands of dollars. The Roosevelt dime has been around since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and by 2020 billions of them had been produced. The design is instantly recognizable, with Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse and the torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse. But as perfect as the U.S. Mint strives to be, no production process is without its flaws. The 2020 dime shows us just how valuable those flaws can be. One of the most desirable types of errors for this year is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned inside the press, and the dies strike it off balance. Sometimes the result is subtle, with only a small portion of the design missing, but the real treasures are the dramatic examples. Collectors especially love when the coin shows 40 or 50% off-center with the date still intact. That combination makes the coin both visually striking and fully attributable. One 2020 dime with a dramatic off-center strike sold for over $6,500 at auction, and experts believe that examples in higher grades could push far beyond $10,000. Another fascinating error from the 2020 dime series is the double die variety. These errors happen when the die itself, which is supposed to be flawless, carries doubling due to a misalignment in the hubbing process. Coins struck with that die will show duplicated images, often in the lettering or Roosevelt's facial features. For 2020, there have been reports of doubling in the word Liberty and in Roosevelt's eye and mouth. Strong doubling is always highly prized, and when combined with mint state condition, the values can climb quickly. In one case, a sharp double die example graded by a top-tier service reached over $8,000 at auction, and some speculate that if a dramatic double die discovery gains broader recognition, the prices could soar into the $15,000 to $20,000 range. Perhaps the most stunning type of error, however, is the wrong planchet strike. Every so often, a dime design is struck on the wrong blank, whether it's a copper cent planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or another denomination. These are instantly recognizable because they look entirely different. Too small, too light, or the wrong color. A 2020 dime struck on a copper cent planchet shocked bidders when it sold for nearly $18,000, and another on a foreign planchet pushed close to $20,000. The rarity of these pieces makes them the crown jewels of modern era collecting. Clipped planchets are also a category that collectors pursue. When a blank isn't punched correctly, it can leave a visible curved clip, making the finished coin look like a small bite was taken out of it. Some examples show multiple clips, which are even rarer and more valuable. A 2020 dime with a dramatic triple clip realized $2,400 at auction, a remarkable price considering the coin's face value is only 10 cents. Then there are struck-through errors, where foreign material like grease, cloth, or even small pieces of wire become embedded in the die when striking the coin. These create strange textures or impressions on the coin's surface. For 2020 dimes, some struck-through examples have been recorded with deep indentations across Roosevelt's portrait, making them immediately eye-catching. A bold struck-through error from this year brought in nearly $3,800 at a well-publicized auction. But condition is what often separates valuable error coins from ordinary ones. Mint state examples, those that never saw circulation and still have their original luster, can command far higher prices than circulated examples. That's why collectors search through rolls directly from banks, hunting for coins fresh from the mint. For 2020 dimes, when you pair a dramatic error with pristine condition, the values leap. At auction, some of the best 2020 dime errors in top mint state have sold between $25,000 and $40,000, with standout examples climbing even higher. The most talked about sale involved a 2020 dime wrong planchet error in superb mint state that realized over $92,000, shocking collectors and making headlines. That price places it among the highest auction results for a modern Roosevelt dime error, proving that even the newest coins can generate staggering values. The stories of how these coins are discovered make them even more exciting. A collector searching through change from a local convenience store noticed a copper-colored dime that stood out from the rest, only to realize it was struck on a cent planchet. Another collector, working through rolls of dimes from the bank, pulled out an off-center strike with nearly half of the design missing but with the date still visible. These are the kinds of finds that remind us treasures are still hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover them. Auction houses love these coins because they bring drama and competition. Catalogs highlight the errors, and when the coins cross the block, collectors bid aggressively. It's not just about owning a mistake. It's about owning a piece of numismatic history that can't be replicated. Every error is unique, and no two are exactly alike, which adds to their mystique. For many collectors, the 2020 dime error coins represent the thrill of modern numismatics. They prove that you don't need a 200-year-old coin to find something extraordinary. Even a coin struck just a few years ago can carry immense value if it has the right kind of mistake. That's why coin hunters across the country are checking their change, carefully studying their dimes, and searching through rolls from banks. The Roosevelt dime was meant to symbolize stability and continuity in American coinage, but the 2020 era coins show that even within something so familiar, surprises exist. From off-center strikes worth thousands to wrong planchet errors topping $90,000 at auction, these coins highlight the incredible potential value hiding in everyday pocket change. The lesson is simple: never overlook a dime, because what looks like just another ordinary coin might actually be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth more than most cars, sometimes even more than a house.